Hello, voice raisers. My name is Marsha, and I'm part of a local poetry group called Rhyme and Chat, where we rhyme and then we chat. Welcome to another episode of Raise Your Voice. Today, we get to meet an author named John who lives right here in the Tennessee Valley. And you'll get to learn a little bit more about me as I sit down to talk to John about the book that he wrote. The book that he will share with us is actually part of an amazing series of books that are a mix of Tennessee history, science, mystery, and adventure with a continuous connection to the bond of family and of friendship. Having a complex storyline like this is much easier for an author to do in a book than for a poet to do in a poem. I'm a poet, and poetry doesn't generally lend itself to the development of complex dynamics between multiple characters in various situations. Poetry is a lot more succinct. Even though there is a lot of imagery and symbolism in poetry, there isn't much of an opportunity for character development. This is part of the reason that I was so happy to have the opportunity to sit down and talk to John about his book and to have the opportunity to raise my voice in my own poetic way. Let's get to it. So, John,
yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be here.
Tell us about the book that you're going to be sharing with us.
All right, well, Brett Wilson and DeSoto's Cross is about an 11-year-old girl. She's searching for the lost cross of Hernando de Soto. And if she can find the cross that has been hidden since the 1500s, she can find a passage into a hidden world. So it focuses on her journey in finding the cross, using her dad's field book and some of the maps that she has found through her research.
Nice. So this is kind of a mix between history and science and also a bit of sleuthing as well.
It does. So you have the historical component of Hernando de Soto and his journey through the southeastern part of Tennessee, and then you have the science part of it using seismic waves to locate these anomalies that are in the under the Mississippi River. And then you have the sleuthing, which would be her and her friend trying to figure out where these places are. So that's kind of you kind of weave all this together in a nice story.
So that is remarkable. So it sounds like you must have done some research, or you have a background in some of this.
It's a lot of research. You research the history, particularly the journey that De Soto took. You research the science of when you look at the fault, so the New Madrid fault out near Memphis, you research that. You research all the anomalies that are associated with that. And then you're able to piece together a story that's interesting and hopefully fun to read.
Definitely. So it sounds like this story is taking place kind of locally in the Tennessee area?
It is. There's parts of the book that take place here in Chattanooga. So you have Lookout Mountain referenced in the book. You have Stringer's Ridge referenced in the book. And the way those things line up, it kind of points to something that's hidden here in Chattanooga for them to find.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Okay, so tell me the inspiration. What encouraged you to write the book?
Well, I had the idea for a long time. I'd done some research on magnetic anomalies, and I had come up with an idea that using the explorers from Spain as they explored the New World, that would be a good jumping off point for this story. And then, so I had the hook, and I was like, well, the outline works, the story works, I just don't have characters. And one day I was sitting listening to my daughter and her friends talk, and I was like, that works. 11 and 12-year-old girls would work for the main characters of this story. So then I was able to put the characters and put the interaction between them and their parents in there. And it really drove the story really well. The relationship between these two girls, it worked.
Nice, nice. Would you
Yes.
be willing to share an excerpt from your book?
I would love to. So this is
Wonderful.
Page 130, 131. This kind of is a representation of Brett and Natalie's relationship. She takes a pencil from her book and traces the line indicating the river. She stops at the base of Lookout Mountain. There's a distinctive bend in the river at the foot of the mountain. Across the river from a flat plain that lies on a north-south trajectory, she lightly draws an X at the tip of the valley, where the apex of the bend in the river is most pronounced. Natalie looks over at the drawing. "That's where we are headed," she asks. Brett moves her pencil north across the map to the base of the ridge to the west. It fits the city between those 2 points. "I think so," she responds in a confident tone. Brett looks up at Natalie. Natalie doesn't take her eyes off the map. "You think those men will still be there?" Brett shrugs her shoulders. "Probably. They have the originals, so yeah, I think they'll be there." "That's just great. I'm hoping we can get in and get out before they show up." "Not likely, though, right?" Brett shrugs again. Natalie shakes her head. "You could say something that's reassuring, like, 'Of course, we will find the cross thing before those trackers get there. No danger this time.'" Natalie throws her head back against the seat. I know. No danger, no reward." So kind of the interaction between them is it's fitting for how they play off of one another.
Right, so there's quite a dynamic between those two girls. So tell us a little bit about their personalities.
Well, Brett is the confident one. She's the driven one. She's the one that is wanting to find these hidden artifacts. Natalie is the one that keeps her going whenever things look like they're going to fall apart. So it kind of shelters her from the blows that she's taking and kind of rejuvenates her into proceeding and continuing on this hard path that she's taken.
And then Brett also has the extra incentive to accomplish all of this because she's trying to find her father.
Correct. Her father, he disappeared during a exploration. They were looking for one of the 7 cities of gold, and he disappeared. And her sole purpose is to find him. So that's why she's undergoing all these journeys looking for this treasure, because those will point to the entrance to the doorway so she can get to him.
That's amazing. Well, I will tell you that hearing about the friendship and the relationship between Brett and Natalie, it actually inspired me to write a poem. So I'd like to share it with you, if that's okay.
Sounds great.
So the poem is entitled, "We Two." From the beginning of time, we were designed to abide together. The rains fell, the sun did shine, yet we were enshrined to withstand unkind weather. Always there, you stood beside, friend genuine, a beacon, a guide, we tethered. Through youth sublime and death's decline, we, here, you will find roots intertwined forever. And it just made me think about how well the two girls, even though they were very different from one another, how they were just always there for one another.
Right. That's a great poem, by the way.
Thank you.
I like the relationship that you have, whoever the individuals are in that poem. It seems like it is from experience. You have a relationship like that somewhere.
Definitely.
And that's wonderful. Writing from those experiences makes writing more meaningful.
It really does. It really does. And it makes me think also about how much easier you expressed writing the book was. Like, you had the knowledge, you had the framework, but once you were able to connect it to someone who's very close to you,
right,
connected to your daughter, then it brought everything together. So as I was listening to the dynamic between Brett and Natalie, it made my mind go to friendships that I have.
Right.
And I'm so blessed and fortunate to have those friendships. And even though there's ebbs and flows,
right,
you know, sometimes things are like flowing smoothly,
right,
and sometimes it gets a little bumpy,
yep,
but we're still friends. We're
right,
still together, and we will forever be together, even when things get challenging, right, and
yeah,
difficult.
And that's the good thing about friendship. It does that. You know, the best friends you can't live without.
That is so true. That is so true. And even if you go for long periods of time and you aren't in touch with that person, the friendship still remains.
Right.
There's still a connection. You're still tethered, yep, in some way.
Yeah, that's true.
Is there anything else that you would like for us to know about the book?
It's fun to write. I really enjoy writing that story. It's a 4-part series, and the third part was just as fun as the first. And the last part, which I'm currently writing, it has been really enjoyable. But you don't want it to end. It's really sad when you see the end of the story because you don't get to write about those characters anymore. So
I can see that.
There is some sadness to it.
I can see that. And this is actually the second.
This is the second one.
Right. So what's the name of the first one?
The first one is Brett Wilson and Coronado's Door.
Nice. And then the name of this one?
This one is Brett Wilson and De Soto's Cross.
And the third one?
And the third one is Brett Wilson and De Leon's Well.
And the fourth one?
That's Brett Wilson and Balboa's Gate.
And has the fifth one been written yet?
No, there's only 4. So
there's only 4.
That's it.
I see. I didn't want it to end either.
I
didn't
tell
want
you,
it to end either.
It's hard. I was sad whenever I wrote the first chapter. I was like, this is the last first chapter for Brett Wilson I get to write.
Wow. Okay, so as a poet, I've had the question asked of me, how do you know that you've reached the end of your poem? As you're creating, as you're writing, how do you know you've reached the end of the poem? And my answer generally is, I've reached the end of the poem when it comes time for me to present it. However, there's still versions, there's still layers. And as I grow and as I evolve and as additional things happen in my life and my position and my belief system shifts with the times, then my poetry changes as well. So how did you know that that's when the end was coming?
Well, you kind of have I write based on an outline, so I outline everything. So I kind of know where I'm going before I ever start. So that really helps, so you don't deviate. But the characters tell you when it's time to end. They're dictating the story to you. And sometimes you're just watching the event take place. And that's the beautiful thing about writing a novel. Sometimes they take control of everything and they can run it in places you don't think they're going to go. But they finish it, and you know it's finished when they're finished.
That is beautiful, and I think that's true. That's true when it comes to the creative process. Whether you're writing a book, whether you're writing poetry, whether you are doing visual art and you're painting or drawing, the art chooses you in a lot of cases,
yeah, pretty much.
And you just make yourself available for it so that you can capture it.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That is phenomenal.
So it's not a difficult process when you look at the ending. The beginning can be difficult, but the ending's usually, it's pretty clear.
That was amazing. John is such an amazing author, and I encourage you to check out John's book, Brett Wilson and De Soto's Cross, the next time you visit the Chattanooga Public Library. John's book shows that there are times when we need to be courageous and times when we need to take a stand, dig our heels in, and fight for what we believe in. In John's book and in my poem, we give a nod to the importance of having a friend by your side during those times and the importance of being a friend. So what does it mean to be a friend? What does that even look like? Does a friend always agree with you? Is a friend able to disagree with you and still be considered a friend? Use the dialogue of a short story or the flow and verse of poetry to express friendship in action. Let's write about it and send what you create to raiseyourvoice@wtcitv.org. I can't wait to see what you create when you raise your voice.